What's up, people? It's your boy. I'm Chris the Down One, and I'm back with another video. Let's get these little intros out of the way. Rate, comment, subscribe. Please hit the notification bell on my YouTube channel so you'll be informed when my next live stream or video goes down. The super chat feature is now enabled. If you want to hook a brother up with a donation or two, you can do so. All right. Now, with further ado, let's get into today's topic. Right now, BleacherReport.com as well as ESPN.com as well as Fox Sports One has reported the following, and yes, even Yahoo Sports. LeBron James is frustrated with the Cleveland Cavaliers organization and Dan Gilbert, and the tension is really mounting between Dan Gilbert and LeBron James. LeBron James wants Dan Gilbert to give up to make the necessary changes to make the Cleveland Cavaliers team better, and he's still upset at the fact that there was a possibility in place where they could have signed Paul George in the offseason. And LeBron James bitter about this. The two sides haven't spoken to one another in years. All right. And you would think with these high profile names, LeBron James and Dan Gilbert, and how as far as business goes, they're quite successful in their own bracket. You would think these two individuals would be professional enough and courtesy enough to put their egos aside, put their differences aside, cease fire, and think what's best for the team instead of what's best for each other. All right. Now you have reports that suggest that LeBron James has cursed out two executives from the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right. And the reason why, because these two Cleveland Cavaliers executives were highly critical of LeBron James as far as the last couple of days. Seems like he's not interested in it. He's going through the motions, things of that nature. There is a struggle, a power struggle, when you're talking about the team aspect of it between Ty Lue and LeBron James. Ty Lue is upset at LeBron James because LeBron James really hasn't backed him, particularly when the comments were made about, do you think a coaching change is needed? And LeBron James didn't even confirm nor deny or really even give his opinion, being very cavalier about it. You get what I did there? Cavalier about it, Cleveland Cavaliers. Okay, well, anyway. So let's talk about the easy stuff. Dan Gilbert is getting tired of being held hostage by LeBron James. This will be his third consecutive year being hold hostage with LeBron James, because LeBron James is not committing on the other side. He's not going to sign an extension or give the Cleveland Cavaliers brass, the organization, that he's committed to this ball club. Now, LeBron James talking about, I'm in it for the long haul. Well, technically, LeBron, you're not in it for the long haul. You're only in it to the end of the season. The end of the season is only like in the springtime, like a few months away. Okay, so that's not necessarily the long haul. You're only in it to when your contract expires. I think that was a poor choice of words for LeBron James. That's neither here nor there. I will say this: as far as the Paul George trade going through, the reason why that deal fell through was twofold. Yes, LeBron, Dan Gilbert could have stepped up and gotten that deal done, or allow David Griffin to at least finish that deal before he was let go of. But on the other side, LeBron James, you have to understand, Paul George has agents too, all right? And Paul George representatives were talking to the Cleveland Cavaliers organization. Well, what about LeBron James? How much? I mean, is he going to sign an extension? Is he going to add more years? Because if you guys are willing to trade for me, and this is the destination I want to choose, then what about the commitment from LeBron James? LeBron James, that deal could have went through if you, on the other hand, a commitment to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So yes, the Paul George deal fell through because of Dan Gilbert and his due diligence as far as trying to fire David Griffin real fast and real quick. You could at least let David Griffin finalize that deal, and if you still had those feelings about letting go of David Griffin, fine, okay? But on the other end, LeBron, even if David Griffin was still involved, if you do not have a commitment, if you don't sign, if you don't give the Cleveland Cavaliers a commitment, what makes you think other free agents want to commit to you? Because you're not committing to them. That's why the Cleveland Cavaliers have been struggling for the past couple of years to add more top name stars to their rosters who are willing to take salary cuts. That's why the Golden State Warriors can get these top level NBA stars or borderline NBA stars who will take the veteran minimum to sign with the Golden State Warriors for a chip, a ring, okay? And that has paid boldly well for the Golden State Warriors because they have commitments on their roster, okay? No one on the Golden State Warriors is an eye guy, okay? No one on the Golden State Warriors is thinking about, only letting the organization do all the commitments, okay? That's why the Golden State Warriors continue to get decent talent added to their roster, and the Cleveland Cavaliers somehow can't manage it, okay? Okay, but we should move on, segue into the other layers of these problems. The Cleveland Cavaliers yet again lost to another team. Surprise, surprise. Okay, they had the lead with the Orlando Magic, but the Orlando Magic came back and won. Now LeBron James talked about his 5 assists, but he also had 6 turnovers, and those 6 turnovers, erase and evaporates the 5 assists, and it seems like LeBron James wasn't even interested midway through that game. Okay, so there is talk that the players are finger pointing and arguing with one another because everyone has their own agendas. Like I told you guys earlier in the summer, yes, the Cleveland Cavaliers, when you look at what they assembled, they had players on top of players. The depth was incredible. They had depth in the point guard, depth at the shooting guard, depth at the small forward, depth at the power forward, and some of that depth in the power forward can switch to the center position. They had flexibility, all right. But with all that being said, I even stated that even with all those changes, they still wasn't going to beat the Golden State Warriors, all right? Because they do not have, even though they have depth and they can compete with them, and this was earlier in the season, still they don't have anyone that's a cold-blooded killer when you're talking about scoring, or a defender that can lock down, whoever they assigned that defender to, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, whatnot, because when LeBron James was defending the Durantula, he was having his way. He was definitely having his way. So, with that being said, Kevin Durant, they don't have anyone on the Cleveland Cavaliers roster that can defend that way. That's why when they traded Kyrie Irving, they felt like Kyrie Irving was Kyrie Irving of the Kyrie Irving trade when they traded him to Boston and they got Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas, and that Brooklyn pick, Chris Bruce Shaw, as well as Colin Cowherd, all stated the following. Now, how do you like somebody blowing back at you? All stated the following. Uh, that the Cleveland Cavaliers won that draft. Okay. So, and I even stated in several live streams, I felt like the Boston Celtics won that draft because they got what they wanted, an elite point guard. And an elite point guard is hard to find in these times. It's not a lot of elite point guards in the NBA. In the NBA. Okay? So that's why I kept saying the Boston Celtics won that draft. Okay? Why would anyone think otherwise? And that's why folks like Colin Cowherd and Chris Broussard, now they're changing their minds on that draft. But that draft is, that trade. But that trade is over with. Okay, I was literally the only one that was saying, well, not literally the only one, but I was in the small minority that stated that the Boston Celtics won that draft. Everyone was either saying Cleveland won it or both teams won it. I stuck my neck out and I told you guys why the Boston Celtics won that draft. Let's just move on. So now there's talk that the Cleveland Cavaliers are willing to depart with Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder. Now, the reasoning behind this, and if you listen to Brian Windhorst yesterday on ESPN, he even suggested that the Cleveland Cavaliers should not only get rid of those two, but 4 other players. All right, even if they do trade away these players and they don't get nothing back as far as contending with the Golden State Warriors, unless you're getting 2 perimeter all-star talented players that the Cleveland Cavaliers can get on their squad, like a Paul George or a Boogie Cousins, which Boogie Cousins is injured for the year, or Anthony Davis, or even a Kevin Durant. If you're not talking about that significant type of talent, and no one is giving up on their talent to help the Cleveland Cavaliers, the only possibility that this could get better, if you're talking about what's best for the team, is what a lot of people have been stating, even though I'm going to state this for the record. I don't see LeBron James doing it. But clearly, Dan Gilbert and LeBron James can't work with one another. They're not even communicating with one another. And clearly, the team is struggling because a lot of that emotion, a lot of that aggression, a lot of that anger is transcending on the court, okay? And now LeBron James is not even communicating with his teammates, okay? If it's that much of a problem, the best course of action, and the Cleveland Cavaliers will benefit from this more than LeBron James, if Dan Gilbert said, hey, look, let's just put all our egos aside. Just tell me where you want to be traded to, and I'll trade you there, even if we don't get nothing back in return. Now, a lot of people think that if he goes to the Houston Rockets, that means the Houston Rockets is going to have to give up so much for LeBron James, okay? But if you give up if you give up Anderson, you've been trying to trade him for the past couple of years, and even though he's having a decent year with the Houston Rockets, if you just give him up just for salary cap, just to match the salaries up, and as well as a few players that's probably going to be cut anyway, and throw a dog a bone, throw the Cleveland Cavaliers a bone with a draft pick, I think that's good enough. Or involve a third team. Therefore, the Cleveland Cavaliers get in return at least one or two draft picks and some expiring contracts that the other two teams do not want. Okay, which is Anderson with the Houston Rockets and whatever the third team is going to be. It will benefit everybody as a whole. It will benefit the Cleveland Cavaliers from a standpoint of they was heading this way. Uh, the route that they're taking now, they was going to do this over the summer. Now they get to do it a lot sooner, and which is revamp the roster. Okay, LeBron James get to go somewhere where he can contend for another championship. Just that's why. Remember a couple of 2 weeks back when I kept telling you guys that I kept telling you guys over and excuse me about that over and over and over again about uh, the rumor floating around that LeBron James. There's a rumor floating around that the Golden State Warriors were interested in LeBron James. And I kept telling you guys when I was talking about this that this is really coming from LeBron James camp. Now word is that even a GM from the Atlanta Hawks even stipulated that it was coming. The sources were coming. All of this was going through LeBron James' inner circle. Okay, so it's obvious that LeBron James is still interested in chasing rings, and he knows the only way he can possibly get one or two more rings is to join the Golden State Warriors. All right. The problem is the Golden State Warriors really don't need LeBron James because they already got that player, a poor man version of LeBron James in Draymond Green. And the only way the Golden State Warriors will be interested in LeBron James if Draymond Green starts being a problem and a disruptor to the Golden State Warriors. Now, last night game, he got the Thunder game. Things got a little chippy, and he got thrown out, and he got a technical. Okay, but that's the only way that's going to happen because you have to, in order for this to happen, you have to get rid of salary to even add LeBron James in the offseason. All right. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Dan Gilbert found him a new a new text buddy in Isaiah Thomas. And I think Isaiah Thomas, talking about players with agendas, he's a player that has an agenda because he wants a big-time contract. He never had a big-time contract in the NBA, and he's competing for that. Just one big-time contract. And I feel like the only team is willing to give him a big-time contract just to have him on the roster, and that will be part of their Plan B rebuilding, and it will help that organization out with tickets, still selling tickets and still having people come to the games. IT re-signing with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, him and Dan Gilbert are tight and cool. Maybe Dan Gilbert will overspend and overpay to keep Isaiah Thomas with the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, that's the rumor that is going around. But there have been some reports that even IT name has been popped up as trade scenarios and trade possibilities. But other NBA teams do not want Isaiah Thomas because he's not fully healthy, okay? And the things that Isaiah Thomas can do, which is athleticism, he can't do that right now. He was never a good defender, and he's right now streaky as a scorer because he's still injured, and he's undersized at the one position, all right? So, even Michael Jordan do not want to touch Isaiah Thomas. Now, there was a rumor that was floating around that the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Charlotte Hornets were trying to do a trade where, and my mind escaped me of the player that
the two players that the Cleveland Cavaliers wanted. But in return, the Charlotte Hornets said, we'll take Isaiah Thomas' contract, but you're going to have to give up that pick, meaning that's a salary dump, okay? Meaning that IT will only be there as a rental, and then he will go off into free agency. And all they was really interested in was the Brooklyn pick. Okay, so this thing is getting worse by the second. Clearly, a lot of people think, well, we're not even at the halfway point of the NBA season. A lot of things can be turned around, but the trade deadline is 2 days away. I really don't see a trade scenario that's going to make the Cleveland Cavaliers better, but I do see a lot of trade scenarios where, as far as team chemistry, it probably gets better because you're going to have to get rid of, you're going to have to either commit to these other players that have their own agendas, which is IT is searching for a big payday, okay? Dwayne Wade still wants to continue to play, so you're going to have to, deal with that. And Derrick Rose is competing for a contract. So uh, you're going to have to get rid of one of those players, if not possibly two. J.R. Smith is not contributing to the Cleveland Cavaliers. J.R. Smith has already got his summer plan set up. He checked out, many games ago. Okay, so the best scenario for J.R. Smith is to just give J.R. Smith some new scenery and a new team, and who knows, maybe they can recharge his battery or maybe get him to rethink about the season again. Okay, Iman Shumpert is they've been trying to shop him around. Okay, even though he's having a better season this year than last year. Okay, they're not going to get rid of Kevin Love because nobody wants Kevin Love's contract. They love Kevin Love as a player. They love his skill set, but they don't like that salary. Okay, so I can see Dan Gilbert just letting this play out, and I've been hearing a lot of rumors about Dan Gilbert basically is purging this team. Okay, if LeBron James thinks that Anthony Davis or whoever is going to be walking through the door to save the Cleveland Cavaliers season, it ain't happening. Okay, so in order for the Cleveland Cavaliers, or in order for the Cleveland Cavaliers to save this season, they're going to have to do it internally. There's not going to be somebody that's going to come in. It's going to be a trade, but that trade is really not going to benefit the Cleveland Cavaliers one iota as far as competing in the playoffs. Uh, uh, Still at the end of the day, the East is mediocre. Milwaukee and Boston, now the chances increase as far as them possibly winning a series with the Cleveland Cavaliers because the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, they're starting to build momentum. Okay, a lot of stuff is starting to click on those two organizations. All right, um, but when you talk about the Miami Heat, it's a possibility they can probably win one or two games. But I don't think they can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in a series. And if LeBron James still behaves this way, where he's not even trying to win games, he's just out there to be out there. There's a possibility that even the Miami Heat can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right. A lot of finger pointing, a lot of egos that needs to be moved aside or even massaged, and it just goes to show you, no matter who you are in life, you can't get everything what you want. All right, even the president of the United States cannot get everything what he wants. Eventually, when you live in a moment where you feel like you can get anything you want by just snapping your fingers, and then just so happens one day you don't get everything you want, that frustrates people who's been entitled of getting everything what they want. And I think that's what's going down with LeBron James and the organization. I think the organization has finally grown a backbone and starting to stand up to LeBron James, saying like, "Hey, we're not going to just mortgage and trade away our future uh, just to please you. If anything, it's got to benefit the whole organization, not just you." Okay, and that's why they're in the pickle that they're in. Christian Thompson was a LeBron James guy. The Cleveland Cavaliers overpaid for Christian Thompson, and now they're stuck with that contract. Okay, uh, Kevin Love was a LeBron James guy. They mortgaged their future. They sold their future in Wiggins instead of letting Wiggins stay there and allowing LeBron James to mentor him, develop him, as well as Kyrie Irving, and they have their own big three. And now you have two players that are in their prime and young, and young, plus they're being developed by you and taught by you. So when your skills diminish slightly, you can depend on these other two guys, and then you start adding other pieces around this group of guys, similar to what Golden State Warriors did. The Golden State Warriors drafted Klay Thompson. They drafted Steph Curry. They drafted Draymond Green. Okay, that's that little small tight-knit circle, and then they started adding around it. They didn't subtract talent, they added talent. Okay, and that's why they got Kevin Durant. Okay, as well as a good bench, and they're looking to go into trade deadline to add players for their bench. Okay, you see how that works? So you can't get everything what you want, and you don't want to have a bunch of yes men around you and telling you, yes, we can do this, we'll rubber stamp this, we'll rubber stamp that, we'll rubber stamp this, we'll mortgage the future, we'll sell our future just for the short term success. And they only got one championship out of this. Okay? And the decisions they already decided for that one championship is already going to make this franchise non-existent for the next 10 to 15 years. Okay, it's going to take a long time before the Cleveland Cavaliers, have a confident roster. Okay, because of the decision that they made just to even get that one ring. And we're not even talking about all the other moves and all the other decisions on the other two finals where they didn't win. Okay? But it is what it is. Guys, tell me what you think. Sorry that the stream was a little bit too long. Rate, comment, subscribe. It's your boy. I'm Chris the Dom One, and I am out. Deuces. This is a live stream. This is definitely a live stream.